Welcome to Card Player TV. I'm Allyn Jaffrey Shulman, broadcasting from none other than the Shulman residence. As you can see, I am here with Senator Al D'Amato and poker player extraordinaire Howard Lederer. I think you all know that today Democratic Congressman Barney Frank introduced the Internet Gambling Regulation and Enforcement Act of 2007. Essentially, that act seems to legalize online poker for licensed operators. Now, first I'd like to say, Senator D'Amato, welcome to Las Vegas.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much. I want to know your opinion all about the legislation, but first I have to congratulate you. I really think congratulations are in order since Senator D'Amato joined the PPA as the spokesperson. It went from 60,000 people to over 428,000 and growing. Congratulations. How'd you do it?
Alan, because it's a great cause. It's a just cause. And the hypocrisy of what Congress did, and many of my Republican colleagues who pushed through a bill that said, if you are going to bet on the horses on the Internet, it's okay. But if in your own home you want to play poker, you're now a criminal. It's ridiculous, silly. Absolutely. And so I think people are so outraged when you give them a chance to sign up and say, you can fight, you can turn this around. If you join the PPA, and we're asking people, join, so we could let your congressmen and senators know that we want this right restored. It's a basic American right. You can't allow people to bet on certain things and then say, but to play poker is criminal. And the unintended consequences will force legitimate operations out of the business, and you will get some who are unscrupulous, who don't deal with the teenage problem. In other words, should we license it? Yes. And that's what Barney Frank says. Let's control it. Let's not ban it and create prohibition days like you did in the era when you said no drinking. And by the way, many good people took to the streets and said we want to ban drinking because people get drunk and it creates problems, etc. Well, they created more problems with the ban than in terms of regulating it. So you had criminal enterprise came in, you had no control whatsoever. We can control today with the sophisticated programs they have and regulate every single game that is dealt over the Internet. You can keep youngsters and problem gamblers off of the Internet. And by the way, why should you be allowed to play poker in a casino? I think you should be allowed, but then banned from playing poker on the Internet in your own home? It's silly.
Senator, I could not agree with you more. Now, I understand you're one of the few people who has actually seen and read Barney Frank's act. If you could just in a few words explain to our viewers what exactly does Barney Frank's new act say?
Well, number one, he's heroic because very seldom will you see somebody take on the establishment the way he has, and he's a powerful congressional chairman. And I don't think he went and counted up the poker players who live in his district, but this is as a principle saying, who are you to invade a person's house? Who are you to say that one sport, yes, you can place wagers on, but another one that involves skill that you're not allowed to? It's nonsense. And he sets up licensing requirements so that we regulate it. He sets up rules which will allow people to keep underage and problem gamblers, minimize their participation. He sets up the kind of standards that you need to see that they're honest games. And so he does the right thing. The unintended consequences of trying to ban it will create problems. So it's a great bill. It's a great start. He's a powerful congressman. He's a courageous congressman. And I have to tell you, while he may be a liberal Democrat and I was considered a conservative Republican, right on, Barney. You're doing the right thing for America and for poker players and for individual liberty. I didn't know big government was supposed to come in and tell some little old lady she can't go to the casino. I'm not against casinos. Maybe she doesn't have access to it. Maybe she doesn't want to go. And she wants to play on the Internet in a 2 cent or a nickel a poker game. You're going to ban her for doing it? You're going to make her a criminal? It's silly. So I'm very proud of the congressman. I think he stood up courageously, and now we're going to keep growing the PPA. Ask them to call don't call Congressman Frank. If you want to send him a thank you note, do that. But don't flood his telephone lines and his email because he's with us. What we have to do is call your individual congressmen and senators and say, let's not be hypocrites. Let's allow people in their own home to be able to play poker on the internet or what other game that they want to indulge in. It shouldn't be a congressional. Imagine the resources we're wasting. We should be tracking down the drug lords. We should be the money launderers there, the people who are a threat to this country, the terrorists and the money laundering terrorists, not people who are playing poker on the internet.
Thank you, Senator. Now, I'm wondering, and I think our viewers are wondering, does this act essentially repeal the Unlawful Gaming Enforcement Act?
It really would do that, and more importantly, it would put us in compliance with the World Trade Organization, because the United States is going to be sanctioned by all the countries throughout the world who say you're discriminating, you're allowing certain games to people to participate, like horse racing, like fantasy football, like lottery, but you won't allow poker and other games. And so there will be trade sanctions, there will be repercussions, and I think we ought to have the courage not to try to live people's lives the way we think they should be living. That's why this is America, the land of freedom and opportunity.
Thank you, Senator. What do you think the chances are of this bill passing?
We're going to get it passed. And if the average American takes the time to join PPA and to call his or her congressmen and senators and tell them this is outrageous that you've had this hypocritical legislation which was sneaked through in the dead of night. We want to, even if I don't play poker, why should I take that right away from other people? Even if I don't enter into any of these games. Is it fair to do that? Is it reasonable? I think every libertarian, every conservative should be joining in this battle.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, Senator Alfonse D'Amato. Now let's turn our attention to the world-acclaimed Howard Lederer, poker player extraordinaire, businessman, genius in all ways. Absolutely. Yes. Tell us your opinion about the bill.
Well, I think it's a great bill. It's such a unique approach. It answers everyone's issues. You have the sports leagues that have concern about these issues, and you have the states' rights issues, and it concerns both of those. This is a bill that the federal level would make everything legal as long as you are legally licensed, which would then allow the states to either opt in or opt out of not just all of online gaming, but individual activities. So some states may say, we don't want sports betting. But we'll take poker. Other states we'll have it all. Other states will say we don't want any of it. But really, this is a two-pronged grassroots effort here we need with the PPA. We need as many members as possible. Those members are going to allow this to pass, and we've heard from the senator that he thinks it's going to pass. I agree with him. But then there's going to be a secondary fight here. There's going to be a state-level fight where poker, I believe, will be the activity that the most states will opt in for, essentially. And it's going to be a grassroots level, state by state, where people in each state in the PPA are going to have to go out there and speak to their local politicians and put pressure on each state to say, yes, this is an activity I want to be able to do in my home. And I really see poker, maybe even 35, 40 states probably being okay under this legislation. In terms of the WTO, we have a multi-billion-dollar case ahead of us against China. The Microsofts, the big movie studios of the world actually have a fight in this. While we're a scofflaw with the WTO, how can we go to the WTO and complain about China's inability to police our IP in their country when we're not respecting the very organization that we're appealing to? If we can get into compliance with the WTO, this can put us in good standing and give us better leverage in a fight that really matters here with China coming up.
Thanks, Howard. I think that's just an excellent point. Now, one of the things I heard you say was you thought that most states would agree to have poker as opposed to other kinds of gambling. Why do you think that?
Well, poker's just the great American game. It's a skill game. I think of all the activities, it's the activity that we should most embrace. Me personally, I think anyone should be able to gamble on whatever they want to gamble on. But I do think at the end of the day, poker's going to be the activity that is most allowed. And the states are going to get some very serious tax revenue here. This is going to be federal revenue, but also each state will be able to garner revenue for that is produced by the players from their state that are part of these that are taking on these activities, and these states are starved for revenue. I mean, this is a way to honor personal freedoms and create some revenue at the state and the federal level.
Thank you, Howard.
I think that Howard makes a fantastic point. The genius of Barney Frank's bill is that he allows states to say, hey, certain games, certain levels of gambling we will permit, certain we will not. And that's really where it belongs. It belongs within the purview of the states to make these decisions, not the federal government, for everybody throughout this country. And so I think it's a great bill put together in a way that honors personal liberties and states' rights.
Thank you very much, Senator Alfonse D'Amato and Howard Lederer. Thank you. Signing off, Allyn Jaffrey Shulman for Card Player TV.